Hi, everyone. It's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. Thank you for joining me today. If you are here, you are attracted to the frequency, and frequency is all, it is everything. We are in a vastly magnetic, energetic portal, and time is shifting, energy is shifting. If we all think back, and this is the clearest way for me to conceptualize this in my human mind, but if we think back to the pandemic, something shifted in our time, in the way that we conceptualize and experience calendar time, linear time, literal time. It was as if it was hard to track or record or recall unless we went back to an event and a date. And that seems to be accelerating and magnifying. I know for me, oftentimes I will speak with somebody and connect, whether it's personally out in the world or with clients. And it's like, gosh, when did we talk? And it could have been 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, but sometimes I can't conceptualize the time. It either feels like very far away or like yesterday. And that is what is shifting in the field. As we move into the month of June, there is a new element of our reality being brought forward. The astrology gives us some clues. The numerology helps us tap into the frequencies and vibrations. But I encourage you all to really ask yourself, what is the energy teaching me right now before looking externally? And before even looking externally to what's going on in your day-to-day life, your relationships, your work, your family, and even beyond that, looking to, oh, what is the roadmap of astrology telling me this month? What is the roadmap of the numerology? What is the energy teaching me right now? And maybe take a second, maybe a few seconds right now to really go within your heart. And maybe you put your hand on your heart, right on your sternum, and you just take some deep breaths. So let's inhale together deeply and fully through the chest, rolling your shoulders back a bit, creating space between your heart and your throat. And then exhaling the air out. As you come into your own presence, what is your energy telling you right now? What can you feel and sense? What is your own divine truth whispering to you right now? June is a month of whispers. And in order to hear the whispers, it's important to listen. We have two ears and one mouth, and I'm really good at using my mouth better than my two ears. I will be the first to communicate that, cop to that, and admit it. But I've been on a journey of listening, and not only listening with my ears, listening with my eyes, with my heart, and listening with my presence, my own presence. And I don't always like or love what I hear. I don't always know how to translate it or interpret it, but I've gotten so much better at listening and finding value in the listening and trusting that the action or the response will intuitively come. Of course, in May, the big event for May was Saturn moving into Aries. So both Saturn and Neptune are in Aries now. They're in very early degrees of Aries. I did a whole podcast on Saturn in Aries. So if you haven't listened to that, I definitely encourage you to go back and take a listen, because we're kind of in right now. Saturn is in Aries and will be in Aries until the fall, and then it will retrograde back into Pisces, as will Neptune. So it's almost like we're in a dress rehearsal. We're in a dress rehearsal for this new phase of our personal identity. our courage, our sovereignty, our self-expression, and our will to live. So as we transit through this time and we are feeling these new vibes, because I'm definitely feeling them, there's a little bit more oomph and spunk and spark, but oftentimes I'm not sure how to enact those things or take action around them. There's a bit of hesitancy, and it's not laziness or denial, but it's almost like there's a slowdown. And that slowdown is where I listen and I get still. So, any of the grounding practices that you have learned or have utilized, and maybe you haven't yet, this would be a great time, June, to really get still. One of the things that I find most valuable is to put my bare feet on the ground. Scientifically and energetically, there are plenty of studies that show bare feet on the ground. We pull up these negative ions from the earth that help to recalibrate and heal and cleanse our energy field. This is a beautiful time to practice that. And you can stand on the ground for 30 seconds barefoot, or you can do it for 30 minutes being outside. The summer is coming. The summer solstice in the northern hemisphere occurs in the month of June. So summertime vibes, being outside, using the energy of the sun as well, and the frequencies coming from the solar flares and emissions. And I did a whole podcast on solar flares, and there's a blog that goes with that. If you're new to this podcast, I absolutely encourage you to check that out. We will put the links to that blog and that podcast in the show notes, because solar flares are another way that I ground. I allow the sunlight to hit my face to recalibrate my energy field, to cleanse and clear me, but also to illuminate the sun from within. And I think that is an energetic frequency that we are being invited into this month. And there's a prayer that I say often that I'm reminded of when I feel in some sort of dis-ease or turmoil, and it's God, relieve me of the bondage of self. And I will sometimes say, soul, relieve me of the bondage of self. God, relieve me of the bondage of self. And sometimes I will just say, relieve me. And that bondage of self is where I get stuck in fear, in outdated behaviors or patterns or ways of being and living that keep me limited or playing small. It's interesting because in the numerology, May was a 5-month in numerology, and we're in the blanket of a 9-year. So 9 being about stepping into an innate wisdom while letting go of or surrendering to old ways of being or anything that is limiting your fill in the blank: joy, happiness, freedom, health, well-being, love, abundance. So we are in a year of deep surrender, and I would even call it self-undoing. And self-undoing can be translated as going crazy, needing to be committed, having a total breakdown. But for me, the more that I listen, the deeper that I listen, the self-undoing is the alleviation of the bondage of self. And I was driving the other day, and that song by Blues Traveler came on, The Hook. And if you remember that song from the 90s, I think about it, I have a lot of nostalgia around that song. I mean, it's just shout out to my friend from high school, Katie Bradburn in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She and I memorized that whole song. And if you remember that song, it's really, really fast. And there's a lot of words. Well, we sat in her room probably one Saturday night when I was spending the night and memorized the whole thing. So it brings me a lot of nostalgia and joy. And I think about her all the time when I hear it. But when I listened to that song and the words and the lyrics and the meaning behind it, the hook brings you back. I was thinking about all of these energetic hooks that want to pull me back to an old way of living or being or doing or existing that I've outgrown. And it's almost like energetic cords are breaking. We're stepping into new levels of sovereignty and clarity and truth and frequency. But the old hooks keep wanting to bring us back. And for me, those hooks, once I identify them or feel them or know them, or am just tired of them, sick and tired of being sick and tired of whatever the old dance is, frustration, annoyance, anger, lack, fill in the blank. It's like as soon as I go to remove that hook, it's a little painful because there's this fear of once I pull that hook out, that pain out, what's going to replace it? And June, as we shift from a 5-month in numerology, which is about reorientation and freedom, which usually shows us where we limit ourselves, where we feel in bondage. The energy of the 6 in June and the 6 and 9 combination is potent. It can be very subtle and manipulative. It's potent because it's personal and it's soulful and it's deep. It is your own personal truth. The the things that you have buried within you that you share with no one, maybe just yourself and your soul and your God, that part of you that is yours and it's divinely yours. That's the potency of the combination of the 6 and the 9. When I connect with that energy and frequency or people who have that in their number code, there's a wisdom to them always. Like I can always see a piercing wisdom, and it is usually masked with a tremendous amount of service, giving, doing, outpouring. So a lot of times those people are clinicians, physicians, nurses, social workers, teachers of some sort that just are giving, mothers, parents. A lot of times they have dedicated themselves to being of service, but often so much so that they have denied the self and the service. Get this, this is the paradox of the 6 and the 9. The service actually becomes servitude or bondage. So think about, and this has been a deep question for me these last handful of months, is where my service has become servitude and bondage, and I become resentful of service versus having a wellspring where it just transmits. It just is, versus doing it from a place of scarcity or the definition of my value or worth in some sort of way. So taking a look this month, that potency of the energy code of looking at the bondage of self and also how you show up in service and how you also are of service to yourself. So you can be loving and supportive to those around you. And it comes from a wellspring of energy that feels reciprocated energetically. So really look within. Another few things around the energy of the 6 and the 9. One of them is just a heaviness of responsibility. The 6 is very dedicated and deliberate in terms of suiting up and showing up. And I use that often because it resonates with me deeply. I suit up and I show up. But oftentimes I have suited up and shown up when I didn't have anything in me, and then I just can turn it on and tap dance. And I have begun to disentangle some of that suit up and show up if I don't have it in me. So really be mindful of what you are saying yes to, what you're committed to, and why. Why? And of course, yes, there's adulting and life and responsibilities and kids to be picked up and bills to be paid. That is part of our human experience. But where does responsibility become energetically taxing and heavy and burdensome? And how can you unburden yourself? And for me, sometimes it's in my awareness or my attitude. And that's the starting point. And I think the combination of the 6 and the 9 is a starting point of us reattuning to a higher energetic frequency and attuning to a, a higher way of living and being. And it's going to take some listening, some deep, deep listening. The 6 and the 9 is also very intuitive, different than instinctual. And if we go back to Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, the instinct is important because that is hardwired in Aries energy. It's about willpower and instinct. The energy of the 6 is intuitive and it's emotionally intuitive. So this time frame is about discernment. The 6 and the 9 is truly about discernment through experience and awareness. And the listening is key in terms of what is on your plate for the day, what are you responsible for, and how do you approach that? How do you engage with your responsibilities? Are they overburdening you and creating overwhelm, or are they creating greater happiness, well being, and freedom? Those are questions to really ponder. And remembering to get still and say, what is my energy teaching me right now? Not what is this experience teaching me? What is my energy revealing to me right now? There's also with the energy of the 6 and the 9, I think before this happens, it can be a little chaotic because it is highly emotional. That energy, it's intense is what it is. It's like a determination or I'm responsible, I'm mature, I'm capable, I will get everything done. So it's an underlying urgency or push, and I encourage you to look for that within yourself and where it may show up. But as it starts to shift, there's a detox that can happen. So this to me is a month of exceptional detoxification. And however you choose to approach your detoxification, do it. Whether it's doing a physical cleanse, if that is right for you in your diet and your health needs and body, if it is a purge of things in your house, that's a cleanse. If it's, getting a facial and some dermaplaning and they're getting off the dead skin, or doing a body scrub, if that's a cleanse and a detox, do it. But an energy cleanse is where you can find, I think, pretty substantial, effective, fundamental shifts, evolution, and change. So, of course, there are crystals that I would recommend working with mindfully. And the two that come to mind are black tourmaline and hematite. And I will caution you in working with the combination of those two stones. They're very powerful from a detoxification standpoint. So they can detox you too quick, too hard, too much, and deplete the actual minerals that you need, the good bacteria, the good gut buddies, and good pre and probiotics you need. And while that may sound very funny to you, whenever I work with hematite, which I am working with as we speak, I've got it on right now. I have a small hematite bracelet on, and I've got two big pieces of black tourmaline on my desk that I slept with under my pillow last night, and I had physical symptoms as a result. My whole solar plexus, from my heart down through my solar plexus, sacral chakra, and root chakra is in total wreckage. And it is in wreckage now as I speak to you. I am okay. I am fine, but I can feel a lot of burning and some shifts going on in my physical body. And I am that sensitive to energy. And I don't laugh about this or say, oh, Amanda, this isn't what you're feeling or you're making this up. I have been a detective of energy and my physical body for quite some time, and I know how energetically sensitive I am and that we all are. So if you do choose to work with crystals like hematite and tourmaline, be mindful to what is too much for your body and where you are making sure you are adding in healthy nutrients. So if you work with these crystals this month, I wouldn't wear hematite the whole month. I might wear it a day or 2 and see how your vitality is, your physical energy, your focus. And if you feel really depleted and drained, take it off. Thank it and say, "Okay, I'll come back to you later. I gotta recalibrate." Notice in working with both of these stones how they impact your energy field, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, but energetically. See how those things come together. And the combination of the 6 and the 9 is a fertile place for energetic awareness and sensitivity. So play with that this month. It's also like walking into a room where you just get a bad vibe. And sometimes we stay even though we get a bad vibe, but it's listening to the vibrations in your energy field. Or you walk into a room and you feel uplifted light or peaceful. Notice your energy, which again takes listening. And there's a gentleness. Again, it's potent, but it's gentle and it's subtle. You'll miss it. If you miss it, you'll miss it. So enrich yourself this month through your awareness of your energy field and what your energy is relaying back to you. Lastly, with the energy of the 6 and the 9, the 6 is very connected to home and family, much like Cancer energy, and the sun on the solstice will shift into Cancer on the 20th of June. So, no, from the 20th through the end of June, it's more sensitive, it's more emotional, it's more intuitive and subtle in the energetic body, but it can be alchemically potent. So pay attention, be aware, and know that just that one shift of the sun from Gemini, which is more mental and logical and communicative and practical, that once the sun moves into Cancer, which is also a cardinal sign, it's an initiation, it's the start of something new, that last 10 days of the month are very intuitively and divinely, um, potent to really pay attention to. So, jumping into the astrology, on June 6th, Venus will enter Taurus. And this is a fabulous energy field because Venus rules Taurus. And Venus's rulership of Taurus is around the material world and our sensual pleasures, really synthesizing the human experience of the embodiment of our human experience. More than anything, Venus in Taurus is about embodiment. For me, oftentimes, and because I have a lot of mental activity and deep, sometimes Plutonian alchemy that works within me, I can bypass the embodiment of something, meaning joy or some sort of pleasure, because it doesn't feel as useful or valuable. And I am learning by listening to myself that I have been denying myself the embodiment of pleasure. And the one place I know that I don't deny myself the embodiment pleasure is in food. Food for me is my go-to to feel oftentimes, to nurture myself, to nourish myself, to over nurture, over nourish, over indulge. or to feel something, sometimes it comes through food. And that has been an old coping mechanism for me, or a sign that something internally is out of whack. I know when I find myself multiple times in the day when I am not hungry going to the refrigerator, usually something has not been really felt or embodied for me. And I'm becoming more aware of the inability to not embody like feelings and emotions and pleasures and sensory pleasures. And while it's a journey, it has definitely started to open up a new horizon of adventure for me. So, as Venus is in Taurus, it is a wonderful time to engage your senses, essential oils, watching a beautiful sunset, being out in nature, enjoying the beauty of nature, the sounds of nature. It's a wonderful time to enjoy a fabulous movie or meal with friends, anything that enlivens and engages your senses. That is Venus in Taurus. And it is passionate, it's sensual and sexual in a lot of ways. So, looking at where those appetites are asking to be quenched in some sort of way and in healthy ways that are true to you today. For me, recently, it's just moving my body in dance. And that means turning the music up on in the car and dancing and singing and having pleasurable experiences for the sake and value of pleasurable experiences. Oftentimes we deny pleasure to ourselves because life has become work or responsibility. So I encourage everyone, as I will be doing, to really be embracing the embodiment of my senses throughout the month of June and hoping that that carries forward in the months ahead, because that is certainly my intention. On June 8th, Mercury will enter Cancer. When Mercury enters Cancer, it's very intuitive. It's emotional and intuitive, but more than anything, we go to emotional intelligence. So there is intelligence in your body, in your feeling body. But Mercury, the planet of the mind, information gathering and sharing, moving into Cancer becomes discerning, wise, intuitive. But what does it take? Listening. And Mercury likes to talk more than it likes to listen. Again, we're all inclined to that. Not all of us, but oftentimes we speak before we think, or we are thinking about ourselves as someone else is talking. I absolutely am aware of that. And as Mercury moves into Cancer and with Venus in Taurus, again, just like the numerology, the energy field is encouraging us to listen and to cultivate presence and cultivate intuitive presence by just being versus always doing or acting or engaging. It may actually be through your stillness that the intuition comes, that you will intuitively know how to respond to something. You will be in the right place at the right time. And speaking of intuition, right place, right time, we have a big astrological transit this month that is a mega shift, and it is Jupiter, the planet of faith and expansion and adventure and travel and higher learning and wisdom, is shifting from Gemini, the air sign of Gemini. Lots of mental chatter and firing and wiring on a neurological pathway as well as technological. Jupiter, which has been expanding that arena, that area, and that area in your natal chart, wherever Gemini falls in your house system in your natal chart. I would definitely check in with this. Jupiter will be shifting into Cancer on June 9th. Jupiter is at home in Cancer. Cancer, of course, is the mother, the divine feminine, the nurturer, the wise woman. Cancer is also the archetype of three, the mother, maiden, and crone. So, or the maiden mother and crone. I said that in a disjointed order, but it is all of femininity, which also speaks to embodiment and pleasure and movement and sensuality. But as Jupiter shifts into Cancer, there is expansive opportunity for intuitive development, listening to your wisdom and beginning to present that, to translate that through your actions and your presence. It is also a time of self-care, probably paramount here, and one of the greatest themes of Jupiter, which expands. It expands the area of Cancer, and Cancer is about nurture and comfort. But what Jupiter does in Cancer is it says, how do you really take care of yourself? And then you get to be of service. Because Cancer is very service oriented and caring, but it can also forget to take care of its own needs. And a great place to start, an initiation point here, is what is your self-care routine, or what are your self-care needs today? What does self-care today at this point in 2025 look like for you? Not a year ago, now. And I know for me, my self-care continues to evolve. And a lot of times self-care for me these days is really listening to what I need and courageously honoring that in a mature, accountable way. So, I will talk more about Jupiter in Cancer, but I want you to notice around the 9th and the second half of June. So from the 9th onward, see if you notice the shift in energy from a heightened, mentally active energy from Jupiter being in Gemini into the shift in Cancer. Your dreams may become more awake or alive. Your body may feel sensitive energetically. You might have um, some emotional outbursts, because Cancer is emotional, but it usually holds it in. So there may be some energetic kinks that need to come out. So moving your body in a healthy way. It also may show up in fatigue at first as we shift into this energy, because it's going to start really working on the endocrine system and the adrenals, and where they are either healthy or out of whack. So your stress levels, you may want to acknowledge if you are or where you are stressed out and what stress looks like for you. A lot of us, and I would fall into this camp, being stressed out became a normal way of living for me for a long span of my life. So once peace and serenity and ease started to come in, it was unnatural. So I wanted to go back to the stress because it was the devil I knew, what I knew how to manage, what I knew how to control, so to speak. And that wasn't working for me. Relinquishing control around stress being a sign that I am productive or valuable or getting a lot done. Jupiter in Cancer doesn't translate that way. If you are stressed out, if your adrenals and your endocrine system, your body is out of whack, it will start talking to you in a loud way. And with Jupiter in Cancer, usually a lot of it centers in the gut, in our digestive system, and in our heart. So think about like acid reflux or chest pains or stomach cramping, bloating. Like, it can also be the opposite of that, not bloating and having the, what's like it. Just look at your digestive system and your heart and notice that as we shift the second half of June and into July. See what you notice. What is your energy telling you? What is your the energy in your physical body sharing with you? On June 11th, we'll have a full moon in Sagittarius, and that full moon is at 20 degrees. And this full moon occurs at 3:44 a.m. Eastern Time. So June 11th, full moon in Sagittarius. The sun is in Cancer, the moon is in Sag. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is it is absolutely about the expansion of ourselves, our souls, our faith, our philosophies, our beliefs, our personal meaning. So to have this incredible full moon very close to Jupiter entering Cancer, there's a tremendous amount of Jupiter juju available to us. And the big question whenever we have a Sagittarius full moon, which is very extroverted, by the way, this is one of those fiery full moons that usually we want to get out, go, do, be engaged some sort of way. Do that. Do something fun and joyful around this full moon. Go celebrate and be celebrated. Do something that expands your joy during this full moon. But the deeper question is about the evolution of your personal meaning. What has shifted for you in terms of your meaning in life? What is important to you? What are your big whys in life? And be honest about those. Are your whys coming from places of fear and lack and limitation and scarcity and uncertainty? Or is your meaning coming from this place of happiness and joy and fun and ease and pleasure and well being and delight? This is a wonderful full moon to examine that. And usually with a Sagittarius full moon, it's like a party moon. It can be a totally overindulgent full moon. So if you already have the proclivity to overindulge, be mindful. Okay, have a little bit of balance. Go out, let your hair down, but be careful, be mindful, be careful if you're driving, whatever, if you're partying, if you've got something going on, just be grounded and centered in your body. But it is a wonderful full moon to really look at where you have grown from your why. What is your why right now? Or your one or two whys behind who you are, what you do, and how you show up. And it's a full moon. So full moons are times of letting go, cleansing, detoxifying, which is a big theme I've talked about for that is coming up energetically, especially with the numerology. But this would be a great full moon to detox outdated belief systems and thought processes that limit your perspective and the expansion of your perspective. So definitely use that time and that this full moon as a really good checkpoint in June. A check in and checkpoint in June for yourself, your soul, your meaning, and the direction forward for you in this second half of the year. On June 17th, Mars will enter Virgo. It's so funny when I was looking at the astrology for this month, I was like, "Oh, yes, Mars enters Virgo. I love that." And then I started laughing and I was like, "Do I really love that anymore?" If you know me and you've been here for this podcast, and when I talk about numerology and the energy of the 4 or Virgo energy, I love that kind of energy. Virgo being day-to-day life, health, wellness, and routines, quality oriented processes, putting one foot in front of the other, suiting up and showing up like I referred to. And then I thought about it and I thought, wow, Mars, the planet of action and courage and boldness and fight, oftentimes fiery energy in Virgo means, oh yeah, I'm going to get a lot of stuff done. Like that's what Mars in Virgo is. It's like very much like check boxes, get things done. So it's a really great time to start a new health and wellness routine or clean something up or tie up some loose ends and have the energy to do that. But what's so funny is I was like, "Oh, yeah, Mars in Virgo. I'm here for this. I'm gonna get so much done." And then I started laughing and thought to myself, is that really who I am or what I value today? That I'm just here to suit up, show up, and get so much done. And that is an old version of me, a place in which my meaning lived a long time was in servitude to productivity and accomplishment and achieving and doing and getting things done and that being tied to my value. So I laughed a little bit at Mars in Virgo and I said, sure, it's going to add some oomph to my productivity, but I'm going to be mindful that I don't go overboard. So for those of you who feel like you need some resurgence of kind of your day-to-day life routines or getting back on track with some things, this is a fabulous 6 or so week ahead period when Mars enters Virgo, because it gives you the oomph in your day-to-day routines, and it's a great starting point. It's a great day, June 17th is, to start a new routine, which means, like, maybe you get up 30 minutes earlier and, have your quiet time, or maybe you register for a package of yoga classes because you need to move your body. This is a great time to initiate something around the quality of your life and the quality of your self-care and your wellness. So be mindful of that. But also for those of you out there who resonate on or wax towards that frequency I was referring to of productivity defining meaning, worth, or value where we're overly productive. We work because we need to work, or somebody's going to think we're not getting something done, or we're not doing enough. Then this may be a time to initiate some sort of balance in your productivity, being productive, showing up, but adding in things into your routine that may feel totally unproductive to you, that may be extremely valuable into creating some balancing energy for you. On the 20th is the solstice. So the sun will move into Cancer in the northern hemisphere. It is the summer solstice. In the southern hemisphere, the winter solstice. And solstices, like new and full moons, they're energetic portals and gateways. This is a lovely energy to set intentions, to initiate a, a newness of being, a coming back to life in certain areas of your life. And whatever resonates with you, because the sun will be moving into Cancer, again, a cardinal sign, a sign of initiation, Cancer being around nurture and self care, intuition, wisdom, femininity. And we have plenty of men that are Cancers. We all have masculine and feminine energy, but our creativity, our receptivity, think about doing something that honors the start of a new season, the summertime or the winter time in the southern hemisphere, and what would honor a change of season for you? What could you do to demonstrate that in your life? And solstices for me usually revolve around a candle, meaning I light a candle. I do something to create reverence and honor and to set the stage, so to speak, for my own energy field. So to me, lighting a candle or saging your house, saging a room, saging your car, saging yourself, saging your crystals. This is a good time to do something ceremonial or ritualistic. And if you're a gardener, planting new plants or pruning plants, get out in the yard if that's what works for you. Whatever your rituals are that are intimate to you, the solstice is a good time to engage and then to write out some intentions that are deeply buried in your soul, in your heart. On the 25th, there's a new moon in Cancer. So more of this Cancer energy. Jupiter will be there. It is at 4 degrees of Cancer at 6:31 a.m. Eastern time. So figure out where 4 degrees falls in your natal chart of Cancer, and you'll know where that new moon falls in your house system in astrology. But new moons in Cancer are about hearth and home and nurture. And certainly we are in a 6 month in numerology, which is very Cancerian: hearth, home, family. But there is something quite potent, and I've used that word a lot in this podcast. So I feel like a broken record, but it's what keeps coming through because it's what I feel deeply in me, that something potent is emerging. This Cancer new moon feels like something potent is emerging, and we can't, or I can't quite translate, grasp it yet, but there's an excitement. There's plenty of fear and uncertainty and confusion and lack of clarity, but there's like an excitement that something new is being birthed, something new is coming. And when the sun and the moon are conjoined in Cancer and there's this new moon, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So when the sun and the moon fuse together in the sign of Cancer, it is a very soulful time, but it can be like a soulful cellular upgrade. So remember that, mark it on your calendar, just like I would encourage you to mark the solstice on your calendar, and of course the full moon or whatever you want to do, but mark it on your calendar to really do something that feeds your soul, or ask the question of your soul: what feeds and nurtures me today? What fuels my heart's desires? When do I feel at home in my own skin? And deeper than that level of comfort that Cancer really attunes to and aspires to and craves is happiness. Because Cancer in the wheel of the zodiac is the deepest part of our psychology. It is the southernmost part on the zodiacal wheel that is about the depths of our psychology, which ask us, when are we happy? What is our happiness about? What brings you happiness? Not only when do you feel safe and secure in your own skin and within yourself, but what is at the root of happiness for you today? And that is really a huge theme for this month as we explore energetically and we listen to our energy field. We synthesize and process emotionally and in a more mature, intelligent way. This new moon to me is a significant rebirth of sorts with something for each of us on a soul level. What is that for you? What is that for you? Last but not least, on the 26th, Mercury will enter Leo. And remember, not that long ago, June 8th, Mercury entered Cancer. So Mercury's making waves and tracking and moving in the sky. So as Mercury enters Leo, it's a whole other flair than Cancer. Cancer is this internal dialogue with yourself, your soul, the divine, this kind of behind the scenes type of experience. And then Leo likes to take the show on the road. So Mercury being about communication, it's when we want to engage and enjoy life, enjoy the people in our life, the pleasures of life, fun for the sake of fun, joy for the sake of joy, pleasure for the sake of pleasure, laughter, silliness, play, inner child, connecting with your inner child and expressing it. It is fun and playful and animated. And I think we will all enjoy that resurgence of playfulness that Mercury in Leo will give us after quite a bit of kind of introspection and quiet evolution. personally quiet evolution internally. And it may be loud for you. It's been loud for me, but it still feels very private. And it feels like Mercury in Leo will be the first wave of the external demonstration of some newfound or evolved meaning and destiny coming forward for all of us this month. In review, recognize where you are still outsourcing stability to external sources rather than following your own truth, and being mindful of your energetic boundaries and where your nervous system is short circuiting, or you've got autoimmune flare ups and mood swings and any kind of disassociation or dysregulation. Really pay attention to your energetic frequency this month and scan your body often. Breathe, scan your body, and notice what energy that you are carrying that is weighting you down or that is not your energy to carry, and how you can detox that, how you can shed it, removing those hooks so you can live more freely, easily, and happily. All right, everybody, take care and be well.